Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to yet another video. I have been away for a few weeks now. I apologize, but I have been traveling and moving around, and so it was a little bit difficult to come online. But I am now back with a whole new set of cards here that I have pulled. And, just since I was last on here, there have been many changes, many shifts. As we know, the changes and the shifts continue to take place. They continue to unfold. We continue to try and understand what is happening in this world and where we are being guided, where we are being asked to go. And so I've pulled from quite a few different decks here. And so I wasn't really sure of what message to share, so I turned to the cards for some guidance in hopes that these messages will be able to help you out there to get some information to move through whatever challenges you might be facing, or just to give you some clarity as to what is happening at this time, or whatever other information wants to come through here at this time. So the first card we have here is Aditi with Expand Your Consciousness. And look at all the beautiful colors here. And so really what is happening at this time is that, I think I repeat these messages quite often, and I tend to repeat myself quite a lot, but I guess I will continue to repeat myself as, we don't really know what is happening at this time, but we do know that we are going through a shift in consciousness. I'm sure by now many of you out there have heard of this concept that we are moving out of 3D into 5D, and so we know it as third density, which is this very dense material world, which is what has been happening and what is happening, if I simplify it as much as possible, is that we are going through a change in consciousness. So when we look back to ancient civilizations such as Atlantis and ancient Egypt and Lemuria and Tartaria and all of these ancient civilizations that existed here before our time that we still don't fully understand, what differentiated them from us was the fact that they were operating from a higher level of consciousness. And this goes very much hand in hand with what is going on within the celestial bodies and the movements of the planets, because these energies do affect us. Some of you who take an interest in astrology have maybe heard about the fact that Pluto has moved into the sign of Aquarius. Now, Pluto represents the planet of death and rebirth. It is the planet of everything that is unseen, everything that is sort of hidden. It is related to the occult. Now, the occult, everyone thinks that this has a negative connotation. The occult simply means that which is hidden. So there is a lot of information that has remained hidden from us, humanity, for a long time. And as we start to elevate our consciousness, what is happening is a lot of this information is starting to come back into our psyche. I'm sure for those of you who are interested in truth out there, you are starting to notice that there is a lot of new information that is coming to light, whether this be sort of in the science realm, whether this be in the health realm, whether this be in the realm of technology. There are all kinds of changes and new information that is coming to light, even so far as religion, where they seem to be unearthing new books that were not in the Bible. And so really what is happening with the shift of Pluto in Aquarius is that we are, because of this sign of death and rebirth and occultism, what is happening is that we are being forced to look at a lot of things that have been hidden beneath the surface. And this is why we're seeing all kinds of information coming out in terms of our governments, in terms of what is happening, in Hollywood, things like the whole P. Diddy situation. We recently had, in America, there was a hearing on UAPs, which used to be called UFOs. And so a lot of new information is coming to light. And this is what is interesting, because this is what Aquarius is all about. Aquarius is all about higher thinking. Aquarius is all about information. The way I tend to look at Aquarius is sort of higher mind, higher consciousness, but it is also about the collective. And so really, when we look at, I think it's safe to say that we live in a world which is full of all kinds of craziness, and the more that time continues to move forward, the more we're really going to see just how much craziness it is of this world that we have been living in. And so what is happening with this card of expand your consciousness is, in order for this truth to come to light, humanity has to be open enough to be able to receive this information. I mean, who would have thought 10 years ago that, in Parliament they would be talking about UFOs? I mean, people would have thought that you were completely nuts, but this is what is happening. So many things which were deemed taboo and abnormal and a bit woohoo are starting to become more mainstream. And this is why, even in terms of spirituality and consciousness, this is just the beginning. We are on a spiral of upward consciousness, which is also self-awareness. So most people are starting to become more self-aware in that they are starting to question, okay, well, what is it that I desire? Where is it that I desire to go? Because most people have been operating in a place of autopilot. And this is why the world is the way it is today, because we have all been operating from a place of autopilot, forgetting that it is through our consciousness that we create the reality of the world that we live in. But if our consciousness is focused on all kinds of nonsense, then the realities that we're creating is negative, because remember, our thoughts create our reality, because our thoughts generate our actions. So when we are in this process of expanding our consciousness, it is also about becoming aware. It's also about becoming aware of hello. It's also about becoming aware of the thoughts that we are holding, and most of us aren't even aware of the unconscious or subconscious thoughts that we are holding. Hello, she wants to say hi. And so most of us are not even aware of the thoughts that we tend to be holding and the emotions that we are suppressing. And we don't realize that the number one reason why most of us are stressed is because of the thoughts that we carry. Most of us have such negative thoughts, and we don't realize how these negative thoughts are affecting our emotions, they're affecting our behavior, they're affecting the way we move through the world, and they affect everything about the way we see the world, how we interact with other people, and so on and so forth. So this shift that we are moving through, all this chaos that is happening at this time, all this madness that we seem to be experiencing, I mean, the world is definitely not what it once was. And if we look back to around 2020, when we had the whole pandemic, well, we can see that the world is just not the way that it used to be. We seem to be being hit with all kinds of things, so much information coming to light, so many things happening, and this is all forcing us to be able to have a higher level of self-awareness. Because when we have more awareness over ourselves, then we have more awareness as to how our actions impact the world and therefore impact everyone around us. So the next card we have here is High Priest of Atlantis, Chakra Healing. Yes, now most of you might be familiar with the chakra system, and so the chakra system are the main energy centers we have in our body, and so we have 7 main energy centers. And so we have to remember, beautiful people, that we are multi-dimensional beings, and we are made up of so many different layers, because we have a physical body, we have a mental body, our thoughts and our mind, we have our emotional body, so that which creates and generates emotions, we have our energetic body. How many times do you say, oh, I don't have the energy to do this and that? Because the human being is almost like a battery, where what is allowing your body to move, what is allowing your mind to move, is about the amount of energy you have inside of you. And so as this card highlights, we have the main energetic centers within our body. And so you can go and do more research if you're not familiar with the chakras, but essentially the chakras are located along the spine area, and each chakra is related to various aspects of our lives, but also different glands within our bodies. So if these chakras are overactive or underactive, this will literally not only just affect your energy, but it will affect your health, it will affect your vitality, it will affect your ability to think, it will affect all these different aspects of you. And so what is happening now, one of the ways that we can be able to identify where we have blockages is by going into each of these chakras and identifying what each of these chakras represent and the different body parts that they relate to, and then we can start to distinguish what kind of traumas, because at the end of it, we've all experienced trauma. And it is our traumas, because we aren't taught how to deal with the traumatic experiences that we have throughout our lives. What happens is that we develop all kinds of negative coping mechanisms. And these coping mechanisms are a form of survival, and they help us to move through these difficult periods of our lives. But the thing is, what happens is, once we attach to these different coping mechanisms, they then turn into addictions. And this is what most people don't realize, is all the different addictions that we have are not actually the issue, but the addiction is a symptom of something underlying. And that something underlying is most often emotionally related, like either we're depressed, or we're holding a lot of shame, or we're holding a lot of guilt, or we're holding a lot of anger, or we're holding a lot of sadness, or we're holding a lot of grief. All these emotions that we're holding inside of us will start to affect our energetic centers and start to affect the way we show up in the world. And so everything that is happening now, especially if you are finding yourself experiencing all kinds of challenges, if you're noticing all kinds of things that are not working out, you're feeling really frustrated, you're feeling that things are not working out, all of these things are taking place essentially to be able to help you identify the various coping mechanisms that you are holding on to as a result of past traumas that you need to look at. And so you know, what happens is, most of the time, because we are so focused on our bodies, you know, one of the best places to be able to heal is through the body, because the body literally holds everything. And as I continue to say, is that it is very easy for us to push things that are in our minds to the sort of at the back of the cupboard and say, you know, I don't really want to deal with these things. But the problem with that is that the body holds all. So even the thoughts that you are carrying, those thoughts generate certain emotions. Those emotions will affect your body. And so really now is a time for deep healing. What you are going through is deep healing. And most people think that, you know, I'll just tell you straight away that the healing journey is not for everybody. Not everyone has the strength and the capacity to heal their traumas, because it's fucking uncomfortable. You're forced to look at parts of yourselves. You're forced to accept things that are not easy to accept, whether this is about you or things that happened to you, or the way you were treated by others, and as a result of the way you were treated, how you treated others. And this is now what comes, this is now what we refer to as shadow work, because many of you, I'm sure, have heard of the concept of the ego. But if we look at, you know, so the Hermetic principle, as above, so below, as within, so without, explains that everything that is going on within us is manifested into our outside world. So whatever problems are going on in your outside world are directly linked and correlated to what is going on internally. If you feel like shit is hitting the fan in your life right now and everything is going wrong, the number one thing you need to do is go inwards and ask, what am I doing unconsciously that is manifesting the situation in my life? Because what happens is, most of the time we're always like, oh, I don't want this to happen, I don't want this to happen, I'm really worried about this happening. But remember, we are like magnets, and we attract that which we think about. So if you're always thinking about negative things, then you are literally manifesting negative things in your life, because you are attracting negative things to you, because the frequency that your magnet is emitting is negativity. And so I know that this is easier said than done, but what is happening right now is that we are all being reprogrammed with this expanding of our consciousness. We are being reprogrammed to look at the world differently. And what has triggered our programming into the sort of more negative aspects is because of the traumas we've experienced. Now, it's like, for example, if you have a kid that's always being bullied at school, they're not going to want to go to school, because they're going to be afraid of being bullied. They're always going to think that the bully, you know, that's what's going to sort of define their experience at school, is this bully bullying them, that they're not going to want to go to school. So this is what is happening with us. We have all been traumatized, so we don't really want to fucking be here, because we're just kind of like, oh my God, this world is shit. But I can tell you that once you get through that healing, what happens is you start to shift the way you think about yourself. You start to shift the way you see yourself. You start to shift the way you feel about yourself in the world. And that is the number one point of the healing journey, is to shift the way you feel and think and look at yourself. So the next card we have here is Kuan Yin, kindness and nurturing. Yes, beautiful people. When you are being taken through this journey, the number one thing that you are being asked for is kindness and nurturing to yourself. The healing journey is not for the faint-hearted. Being willing to go inwards and to look at yourself and to heal those past traumas and to allow yourself to feel all those emotions that have been repressed inside of you, that you have been holding back because you feel shame or guilt because of something that was done to you. And this is the problem, is that we live in a world that is constantly repeating to us that you are not good enough. And it might not be saying this in such clear words, but essentially all industries trick us into buying things because they think that we're not good enough. And that is the problem of the world today. If we were just more kind and nurturing to ourselves, we would automatically be kinder and more nurturing to others. But the reason why we find ourselves in this shithole and this crazy situations that we're in the world today is because we have all been wounded. And many of you may have heard of the saying, hurt people hurt people. And what is happening right now is that we are living in a world full of very, very hurt people that just need more kindness and more nurturing and more love. Imagine if we all treated each other the way we treat our children. Well, actually, we are living in a world where it seems that children are not being loved and nurtured the way they should be, hence why we find ourselves here. But imagine, in an ideal world, perhaps the world that we're moving into, where we all treated each other with kindness and respect. And rather than projecting all of our shit onto other people, we all dealt with our individual stuff and therefore didn't have to take it out and project it into the world and make other people feel shitty about the situations that we are dealing with because we don't know how to deal with them. So really, as you are going through these difficult changes, as you are experiencing many changes in your life, the number one thing that you need to do is be kind and nurturing to yourself. So the next card we have here is the Water Carrier. What really matters? Reflect and reprioritize. Yes, beautiful people, you are being given the opportunity to take a break and to stop, because when we're constantly on this hamster wheel, we don't really have a chance to really pay attention to what's going on, to what we're feeling, what we're experiencing, because we're always on this just like go, that we don't have time to stop and be like, hang on a second, am I doing this out of autopilot because this is what I've always done? Am I doing, how many people find themselves in a job? Well, I guess less so for now in our generation, but in the older generations, somebody would stay in the same job for 20, 30 years. It's like, it was all about stability, but in today's world there is a lot less stability, and so we're having to find stability in the midst of chaos. But one of the there is always a silver lining. And so in these moments where there is all this chaos going on, it's also giving us a time to stop and question, all the chaos that is happening in our lives is also a good time to stop and question, why is this chaos going on? What am I doing to contribute to this chaos? Do I want to be involved in these things that I'm still involved in? Do I want to continue to give energy into these things, or into these people, or into this job, or into this project, or into whatever it may be? But we are really being given an opportunity to take a break and to stop and to question what really matters for me at this time. What do I want to keep feeding my energy into? What do I want to keep giving my energy into? Because what we don't realize is that in this matrix system in which we live, the reason why this system continues to perpetuate is because we, the individuals within the system, continue to perpetuate the things that we are trying to run away from. And this is what the healing journey is all about. When we when we make the decision to go inwards and to really look at ourselves and to expand our consciousness and to expand our self-awareness and to start to question, why do I do the things that I do, as opposed to just doing them for the sake of doing them, or because I've been doing them for 20, 30, 40, however many years you've been doing these things. Then it all starts with ourselves. And this is why so many people who are always go, 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 the reason why they're always on that go, go, go tangent is because they don't want to stop and just sit with themselves. They're running away from what they're feeling. They're running away from their thoughts. People are constantly trying to keep their minds busy so that they don't have to think about all the things that they are feeling. But there is power in feeling. People will tell you that people who are emotional are weak, but that is bullshit, because people do not comprehend just how powerful emotions are. Intuition is connected to our emotional bodies. Psychic senses are connected to our emotional senses. And so the more you are aware of what you are feeling, because emotions are all connected to what we feel. But because we are all trying to run away from what we feel, because we've all been traumatized and we don't know how to deal with this, and society tries to normalize all these fucked up things that are happening, that we then think that there's something wrong with us, when in reality what is wrong is society at large. The things that we have normalized today are absolutely not normal, and just because the majority of people are buying into this normal behavior, they think that they are sane, when in reality they're really not. And so the whole world is upside down. And if you have watched Stranger Things, I highly recommend that you go and watch it. It is quite dark for those of you who are not into dark things, but I think of all the series and all the movies that I have watched to date, Stranger Things really highlights the reality of the world we are living in more than any other series. So the next card we have here is Beneath the Surface. If you remember, I started off about talking about the planet Pluto, which was all about death and rebirth and everything that is hidden deep beneath the surface. So here we have the question, what's really driving you? True motives, breaking free. And so really, as we look into this card of what really matters, reflect, reprioritize, you're being asked to really go inwards into what is driving your desires, what is driving your behaviors, what is driving your thoughts, what is truly motivating you in this world. Because if you are being motivated by fear, then that's really not the best thing to motivate you. You know, it kind of comes back to this card of kindness and nurturing. And what if you were to say, you know, how many people do things out of fear? They're like, oh, I have to go to work because otherwise I won't have money. Or and of course that's true. I'm not saying that we can all just sit at home and wish for, you know, money to grow on trees and everything will be fine. But when you follow, you know, kindness and nurturing is all about being in the heart space. And what most people tend to forget is that really, when we, and it will sound cliche, but when people say, you know, follow your heart, there really is something to it, because those people who follow their heart are genuinely more happy in their world. And not to say that they're not faced with struggles and challenges and obstacles, but at least they're happy, at least they're joyful, at least they're doing things that bring them joy, at least they're following the call of their soul, as opposed to just doing things because that's what expected of them. And then they go and they do things and then they complain about it because they're just like, this fucking sucks. So really, what is motivating your actions? What is driving you? Why do you do the things you do? And these can be uncomfortable questions to ask when we haven't asked them before, and especially if we're dealing with certain challenges or behaviors that you're trying to sort of cut out of your life, or new habits that you're trying to build, you know, and especially with all kinds of addictions. I don't know why I want to keep talking about addictions, but apparently this message needs to come out. And so most people, you know, are not even aware of the addictions that they have. Most people, again, you know, society, I want to say that most of society now are functional alcoholics, because people think that, you know, but previously the way we would look at addiction was that you had to be, you know, high off your face or drunk, stumbling around all the time and couldn't get by through a day without having a drink or having a cigarette or being on social media or going out or having sex or eating processed foods or being stuck in our negative emotions and always being a victim and feeling sorry for ourselves. And the thing is, these are all different forms of addictions. But the thing is, addictions look differently in different ways. It's like if every single weekend you are having to go out and party and drink, that is a form of addiction because you can't go without it. Anything that you cannot go without for an extended period of time is an addiction. So even if you can't go more than a week without having a drink, that is an addiction. But the problem is that society is trying to normalize these behaviors, and that is not at all normal. So you can, and there's no judgment here. I used to be the biggest drinker on the planet. I used to be a drug user. I used to have so many addictions. And when I made the decision to stop these addictions, what I had to ask myself is why? Why do I drink? Why do I feel like I can't go out and not drink? Why can I not go out sober? Why do I have to constantly be consuming all of these substances? And I realized it was because I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't feel good enough. I felt awkward in social situations. I felt like nobody would be interested in anything that I had to say. So I felt that the only way to deal with that was be drunk, because then I wouldn't have to think about all the anxieties that I was having and wondering about what people would think about me. I was the number one people pleaser. And so it became so much people pleasing. It made me so depressed and so unhappy that I had to drink all the time. So when we start to go deep beneath the surface to question what is driving our behavior, we then begin to break free because we start to understand the core issue. The addiction is not the problem. It is a symptom of something deeper. So if you have addictions to food, to social media, to sex, to drinking, to going out, to partying, to work, to whatever it may be, it is because you are trying to avoid something. What is it that you are avoiding? And remember, the thing is, when we have repressed and suppressed our emotions for so long, what happens is that when we start to feel those emotions, it can literally feel like we're about to die. Emotions are no joke. For those of you who have had panic attacks or anxiety attacks, it can literally feel like you are dying. And so I am not trying to make light of this, but what you have to understand with emotions is that when you just allow yourself to feel those emotions without bringing a story to whatever it is that you're feeling, because your feelings are valid. If you're sad, it is okay to be sad. But if you now start building a story of, oh no, I really shouldn't feel sad, I'm such a loser for feeling sad, now you're just going to make yourself feel shittier about yourself than if you just allowed yourself to feel sad without bringing a story about it. And so remember also, when you're dealing with feeling your emotions, remember you're feeling emotions that happened from something in the past that you repressed. So when you feel that emotion in the present now moment, remember there is nothing actually happening to you because it is an emotion from something that happened in the past. So if you just feel the emotion, feel within your body how that emotion feels without attaching a story to it, it makes it easy for that emotion to just, because emotions are energy in motion. And so when you just allow that emotional loop to complete itself, you literally start to feel better. It's like when you are really angry or really frustrated and then you cry, you feel better. It's not rocket science, but you mustn't be, what's the word I'm looking for? Ashamed of your emotions. And especially for the men out there is no shame in feeling. It's like saying that you should feel shameful about sneezing. Emotions are just a natural part of what the body experiences. And so if I would now to tell you, you must feel shame about every time you yawn or every time you sneeze, and you'd have to go and try and hide yourself every time you yawned or sneezed, how ridiculous would that be? How uncomfortable would that be if you had to constantly go and hide or try and stuff away your yawn or your sneeze? It would be really weird. And so it's the same with emotions. It's like trying to tell you to not breathe. It's a natural part of the human experience. So the next card we have is Descendant, Invitation, and the numerology here we have is 10 is a 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10, which is a 1. So interesting. You know, so the 1 is all about leadership. The 1 is all about new beginnings. And so here with the number invitation, and also with the sun here. Oh, I guess our dog is agreeing with me here. It's giving you an invitation to step forward into this new beginning of your life. This is all about the sun energy. This is about being expansive. This is inviting you. I actually want to read here what the book has to say. So the Descendant is a astrological placement. So it says, while the Ascendant describes how you enter the world, the Descendant is the place where you invite equal others to come into your world. Apologies for the noise. Okay, thank you. I love you. Thank you. It describes how you see these peers, what you project upon them, and what you were trained to respect in them. The Descendant is where the sun would be at sunset. Action. Look at how you invite others to dance with you, to relate. Be welcoming while also keeping healthy boundaries in place. Once you feel comfortable about your ground rules for the people you bring into your life, it is easier to open your heart. Yes, one of the reasons why most people can't be open-hearted and kind and nurturing is because they have shitty boundaries. And this is what happens when you've experienced trauma, especially when you've experienced trauma from a young age. And again, trauma, remember, there are so many different types of trauma. Trauma can literally be described as an experience that was just too much for you, that you didn't know how to deal with, and it overloaded your nervous system. And now this is why trauma affects people differently, because it affects us all in different ways. And so the way trauma, the side effects of trauma look different for everyone. But if you have difficulty having an open heart, the number one place for you to look at is, what are your boundaries? If you can't say no to people, if you can't stand up for yourself and know that, you mustn't be a doormat, you must do what serves you right. And so people will say that this is selfish, but remember, if you are not filling your cup first, how can you possibly be there for other people? So you are being invited to be the leader of your life, and the way that you lead your life is by all these things that we've been discussing up until this point, but also looking at your boundaries. Do not be afraid to say no. I used to be the master at not knowing how to say no, and I would feel so guilty and I would feel so shitty because people would ask me things, and because I was such a people pleaser, I would always say yes, though I hated doing it, and then I would feel resentful. So if you don't want to be resentful towards the people in your life, learn how to build on your boundaries. The next card we have here is Neptune Vision. And the numerology we have here is 7. 7 is all about spirituality. 7 is also about truth. Neptune, the planet of illusions, the planet of visions. So we are moving into a time here. So as you are taking leadership and ownership over your life, as you are becoming the master of your life, as you are becoming the leader of your life, as you are becoming the protagonist of your own life, what is the vision you hold for your life? Because remember, it is our thoughts that create the vision that we have for our life. So if you're constantly worried about how you're going to pay the bills and how you're going to get wherever it is that you need to go next, or whatever it is that you're worrying about, it is because of the thoughts that you are holding. So rather than holding the vision of that what you don't want, start holding the vision of that what you do, of that which you desire. And this is where concepts of manifestation come in. And I don't like to say fake it until you make it, because I think that that is bullshit. I think you have to progressively work towards shifting your belief systems, and therefore in order to shift who you are, and therefore in order to shift the world that you live in, because you are the creator of your life. So you have to hold a vision of that which you desire and take the steps gradually of how, because when you desire something for your life, you have to become the kind of person that makes that possible for your life. So if you want to be someone who's successful and who makes a lot of money, but all you do is sit at home and watch YouTube, then you're obviously not going to get there. You have to take actions. And that is the world that we live in, is that all of this information that I'm giving you, there's nothing new that I'm sharing to you. I'm probably confirming all these things that you already know, but this is what I'm here for, is to confirm the information that you already hold, because you know what you need to do. It is just that you are scared of taking action. So you can ask yourself, how can you start taking action now? Because that is where most people are stuck in fear, because when they're stuck in fear, they can't take action into doing what it is that they want, because then their mind comes in and starts telling them, oh, I'm not good enough, or oh, I don't have what it takes, or blah blah blah, or whatever it is that the mind is whispering to you. But sometimes you just have to go against your fears and just do it. So that is what you are being asked, is become clear of the vision that you desire, rather than constantly holding the vision of that which you are trying to push away and take away from your life. And the next card we have here is abundance. Yes, beautiful people. By taking action on your vision, by taking action on that which you desire, you will become abundant. Because abundance is not only about material wealth, abundance is about everything. Abundance is about having time, abundance is about having joy, abundance is about just feeling fulfilled, having great relationships, having good business relationships, having great relationships with your clients, having good relationships with your friends. Because at the end of the day, I personally find that the number one thing that makes us feel abundant is our relationships. Because when we are fulfilled in our relationships, then we feel good about ourselves. If we surround ourselves with people who make us feel good, then we feel good about ourselves. We feel good about our lives. We make other people feel good. And so really, if you are surrounding yourself with people who make you feel shitty, the number one thing you need to do is step away. And now, one thing that I have been hearing quite a lot in the recent weeks is how so many people are having issues with their families. It can be difficult to walk away from your families. If you have toxic relationships within your families, the best thing for you to do is just step away and take some time. And now I'm not saying cut them out and ignore them, but boundaries. Tell them, I need space. There is absolutely nothing wrong with having space. And this is, one thing that I seem to have noticed is that there isn't always respect in families. People seem to think that, oh, because we're blood related and all of this, that I can just treat you however the fuck I want to treat you, and I don't have to respect you, and I don't have to respect your time, and I don't have to respect your opinions. But that is wrong. Just because you are family does not mean that you do not respect one another. So the next card we have here is the Shift. And the numerology is 11. So the numerology of 11 is all about spiritual awakenings. And so really the shift that you are experiencing here is a spiritual awakening. Now, spiritual awakening looks very different for many different people, but it is about starting to feel that you need to listen more to the calling of your soul, to the calling of your heart. You can't just keep going on and doing the same as usual. Most people are unfulfilled and unhappy today because they are not following the call of their soul. So whatever it is that you truly, truly, truly desire deepest in your heart, no matter how fucking crazy it might seem or how ludicrous it might sound, this is what your soul is desiring for you to experience. This is what you came here to experience. And so, within the spiritual awakening journey, there are layers. I had my, I think, first spiritual awakening in around 2017, but I have had many spiritual awakenings since, because there are levels to this shit. And one thing that I have noticed is that the more you awaken, truly, the less you know. And the more you awaken and you realize the less you know, the more you realize it really doesn't matter. Because there's just so much nonsense going on at this time. And so, the world is a stage, and there are so many things that are playing out on the global stage, but all of these things are happening so that we can awaken, so we can elevate, so we can question what is really behind this. Because coming back to that card of, what really drives you, true motives beneath the surface, if we question about everything that is being presented to us at face value on the global stage, what is really driving this? What is beneath this? We are all being asked to build our discernment. This is how we become more psychically and spiritually strong, by questioning everything. The next card we have here is Fool's Garden. Let it out. Make a fool of yourself. Walk in someone else's shoes. Yes. Beautiful people, you are being asked to walk a new path, to discover a new, here is Fool's Garden. I don't really know what I'm looking at, but you're being asked to make a fool of yourself. At the end of the day, when you think about when we were children and we were learning, we just didn't really give a shit about what other people thought. And that is really the energy that we are being asked to embody again at this time, is just do what makes you happy. Don't worry so much about what people will think. The energies of the world are changing, and it is crazy. I am seeing this happening every single day. Things that previously people thought were really woo-woo are suddenly becoming mainstream. And so do not be afraid to follow your dreams. People might think that it's ridiculous because they don't understand. They don't have the vision that you have. But that is the point, is you hold a vision, and it is your responsibility to bring it into the physical world. And all these people who have done incredible things today, everything we see in the world around us at one point was what people thought that they were foolish. Everything that has been invented, somebody was probably like, oh, you're mad. But they went along with it. And that is what is happening now, is that we are all being pushed into birthing new creations, into birthing new things, but we mustn't be afraid to make a fool of ourselves. The next card we have is Thirsty God, Spiral of Not Enough, Power Given Away, Vicious Circle. Yes, this really perfectly defines the energy of the world that we have been living in. The thirsty gods, because yes, I'm not going to go too much into this, but essentially the world in which we live is constantly eating us up, telling us that we're not good enough. This is what capitalism is all about. This is the matrix system in which we live, where we're constantly being told we're not good enough. We're constantly giving away our power, like to the government and to the health system, to the education system. Like, people are stupider and unhealthy than they've ever been before. And then you have other parameters saying, oh, the world has never been more advanced. Well, I think if we start to break it down to a human level, we can say that there is a serious issue going around the world, because there are less happier people, less healthy people than there have ever been before. And why is this? Well, because we have all given our power away, because we do not believe that we are good enough. We need some external thing to validate us, and we need to take part in this farce of a system of society in which we're living to believe that we are worthy, when everything that people are doing in society, I mean, like, when you look at Instagram and social media and just the fucking shallowness of it all, and how people are pretending to live these beautiful lives, but if you go and pay it and see what's happening behind the screens, these people are fucking miserable and depressed and wanting to kill themselves. And so really, we need to stop pretending. What is happening now is we just all need to be more authentic. We need to be more willing to show what we are experiencing. We're all needing to be more vulnerable, and it is in vulnerability where we can connect with one another rather than trying to judge everyone all the time. So the next card we have here is Eternal Flame, from secret to sacred, authenticity. Yes, do not be afraid to share your flame, to share your passions. But to share your flames and your passions, you have to be authentic. You have to be vulnerable. There is no authenticity without vulnerability. Because you can't be real without being vulnerable. And we all are experiencing difficult and challenging emotions. And the more we're just open about it, and we realize that everyone is going through the same things, then it becomes less taboo. It becomes less like something that we have to hide, when we realize that we're all experiencing the same thing. So do not be scared of being authentic. The next card we have is Dream. Delve in the bigger picture. Swap between the realms. Unlock your superpowers. Yes. Do not be afraid to dream. Remember, we had that card of Neptune and Vision. Dream about the world that you wish to create. Dream about the world that you wish to live, as opposed to constantly worrying about the life that you don't want. Daydreaming is super powerful. In daydreaming, you're actually creating in the etheric realms that which you desire, but where you're missing is taking action on these dreams. So whatever it is that you dream about, take actions, make it real. Take those things that are only in your mind and anchor them down into this physical reality and create something new, create something beautiful, create something that fulfills your heart. Doesn't matter what people say, just do it for yourself. Do it because it makes you happy. Do it because it brings you joy. The next card we have here is potluck. Yes, celebration, coming together. Bring your own contribution. Yes, what is happening at this time is that all of humanity are co-creating the future, the new reality. And the way we co-create is by collaborating, bringing the best of what we have. If everyone comes to a dinner party and brings, everyone dresses up and brings the best meal that they could cook, and you have a great time. But if everyone comes half-assing it, then it's going to be a totally different experience. And that is what is happening in the world around us. We have all been showing up and creating from a half-assed perspective. We are not doing the best. What if we all just did better, the world would be a totally different place. But we have to pour into our cup. We have to give ourselves the best that we have got, as opposed to always giving us just, it's like if you're thirsty and rather than giving you a drink, like a glass of water, you keep just giving yourself little capfuls of water. I mean, you're going to be thirsty. You're not really going to quench that thirst. So it's like, give it your all. But because of the fear, remember what is driving you. If fear is driving you, you're always going to have that doubt. And that doubt is what is going to cripple you from taking action. So start to question, why are you feeling fear? Most of the time we feel fear because of what other people will think. But fuck what other people think. Do it for yourself. Do it because it makes you happy, and just push through the fear. This is part of you growing. Remember, they say what doesn't kill you kills you, makes you stronger. Well, yes, if you can push through your fears, then you become stronger. You will discover new facets and parts of yourself that you didn't know were even available to you. The next card we have is sunrise, sunrise, a new day, a new morning, a new beginning. Move on, look ahead. Yes. Show up in the world with the best that you have got to give, and a new world will literally start to unfold for you. Now is the time to do things differently. If things have been challenging, the universe, the world, the Most High is literally trying to tell you something here isn't working. Are you going to change it, or are you just going to continue complaining and go on as if, the way things have always been? But the thing is, we all like to sit around and complain, but we don't like to do enough. And this is what we are at a point where we are being asked to do. It's all well and good to have an opinion, but if you're not doing anything about your opinion, then that's just unhelpful. And that is also what the energy of Pluto in Aquarius is about. It is about taking action on the things that we believe in, as opposed to just holding them in our heads. The next card we have is the crumbling. Yes, your world is falling apart. What are you clinging onto? Because these things need to fall apart. Things need to fall apart to show us that they're not working. And right now, the thing is, we all get comfortable in our little comfort zone, that we're like, oh, okay, unless shit is really hitting the fan, I don't really need to move. But what is happening right now is that you have all become very comfortable sitting in your little houses and being really comfortable, that the universe is just like, okay, well, if you're not going to leave your house, I'm just going to, create this massive earthquake, so you're forced to exit your house. And that is what is happening. It's like the whole earth, the whole society, the whole world is going through these tremors, so we can just get out of our slumber and do something about it, because we have all been complaining for too long. And it's so easy to be like, oh, the government this and the health system that and the education system that, but it starts with us. And so everything is crumbling, so that we can start to realize what we have been holding on to so hard, thinking, oh, this is what I want, when really that's not at all what you want. So what are you clinging onto that you need to let go of? And last but not least, we have Council of Light, divine orchestration, helpers in the subtle realm. Yes, beautiful souls, know that You all walk with a team of spirit guides. You all walk with aid and help by your side. But it is about asking for the help. There are so many beings in the non-physical realms that are here to help us on this journey, both individually and collectively. And by asking for help, I'm sure you many have heard, ask and you shall receive. Yes, literally it is that simple. But it also, you have to believe that you are worthy of being helped. Because if you don't believe that, if you ask for help and you don't believe that anything is going to happen, well, then nothing's going to happen. You have to believe. And this is why working on your shadow aspects and questioning why you don't believe that you are worthy. What can you start doing to make yourself feel more worthy? You have to ask yourself these questions in order to get the answers, in order to do things differently. But the problem is that most people don't like to ask themselves these hard questions. They prefer to look the other way and hope that things will suddenly get better, but that's just not the way the world works. So really, there is help available to you in many different forms, and not only in the subtle realms. There is help also in the physical realms, in the form of, therapists and whatever it is that you might need, people to help you move through these traumas and to shift your beliefs. And this is what I do. So if you need help, don't hesitate to reach out. So this has been a lot of information. This video has been a little bit long, but I really, really, really hope that these messages have helped you to think about things a little bit differently, have opened your minds up to certain things, have given you a bit of explanation as to what is going on in your life right now. I would love to hear from you in the comments. So please share whatever you are experiencing, and if these messages have been helpful, and do share this video with other people who you feel will benefit from the message, and please like the video if you resonate with this message. Much love to you all, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye for now.